Hello everyone, this is Karen and thank you for joining me for this Draw This Again challenge. I'm currently at my parents' house and I was looking for like some lesson notes and I found all my old sketches back when I thought that I didn't need color, and then I found these, which are the only 4 watercolor pieces I ever did. Like, when I started watercolors, I then stopped drawing for a couple of years and then went fully digital. And no, well, this is not watercolor, but I do still love them. So these two were done with the Koh-i-Noor watercolor pencils, and yeah, I have to say that I really liked them back in the day, but well, you can kind of still see the places where I used the pencil, and I didn't manage to solve it completely with water. But yeah, so I then found these two, this is actually the last picture I did in watercolor before completely giving up on traditional. And I was so proud of this picture because this was my first one, but it's like a flat wash, so it didn't count. But in this one I really felt proud of myself. And then when I tried to replicate it, I kind of failed at everything, so due to me not being in a good place, I gave up drawing completely after this, but that's not what we are talking about today. Okay, so what I want to do is to recreate this picture and see how much I have improved. Let's hope I have improved, because if not, well, I'm not going to give up drawing again, but yeah, I would probably be a little bit disappointed myself. But to make it more interesting, I've also found, because I never throw away anything. Dun 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 dun. Okay, so oops, sorry baby. Okay, these are the 2 watercolor palettes that I used then. So there's like, I don't know if you can see it, but there's dust all over them, and I'm going to clean them before using them. But like, this is almost no, it's over 10 years old. This whole thing is, oh my god, there is dust on them, even though they were closed. Alright, yeah, I still had this ugly habit of using, like, mixing my green on my yellow, and I haven't lost it yet. Okay, so this one was this Boreado brand. I don't know where these come from. The company probably has failed or something. And oops. And then this one, you can see that I use this for her hair. Like, this is this color. Also, these were kept completely in the dark for like 10 years, so the colors stayed bright because they haven't seen the light of day up until now. I have the window open, so they're seeing the light. Okay, so you can see that I used this one and it was very well loved, which is why the cake, when the thickness went down, it broke by drying up. The others are fairly... Oh yeah, and this one, because of course I abused it to... you get the idea about cheap paint here, that I used a lot of it. You can see the difference between this one that I almost used because I didn't like the color, and this one that I used a lot because I liked it. And to do just a small wash at this color intensity, I used almost all the cake. So this is the difference between professional watercolors and cheap watercolors. With cheap watercolors, if you want a bright intense color, you kind of have to like take the cake and smear it all over the paper. I'm not going to use these brushes also because I have no idea what happened to this brush, but it wasn't nice, and I wouldn't want to meet it in a dark place. And this is the old brush. It still has a little bit of the green hue for the trees, because of course it was all about you know, subject first and then the trees. Yeah. Okay, so I have no idea what this brand is. I purchased it you know, when weekly installments of you know, art related stuff come out along with newspapers. My father bought it for me because yeah, I was into like, I want to start doing watercolors, and didn't work out, but right now it works, and it's not actually a bad brush, I have to say, if I remember correctly. Alright, so let me clean these first, because if not I will be drawing with dust instead of lead, and then I'll speed up the process, and we will see each other directly at the end with the two finished pieces. Okay, so first things first, here comes the sketching. Of course, I did not use the same paper as more than 10 years ago, because that block is, well, I finished it. So I'm using, I believe this is the Cotman paper. I will put the link in the description down below. And you can see that since I did not make a preemptive sketch, that she well, she shows a lot more of herself than in the old picture, so I had to invent a pose for her, which is something that yeah, that I've had to learn. So like putting my characters in a contest instead of just context, instead of just putting them there and standing awkwardly with wind blowing in their hair. Okay, so the two main differences I had noticed about my materials was that one, the paints are very hard to mix because they're quite creamy, possibly because of the water I poured on them. So here you can see me making mistakes on the skin because of that, and also because, and this is the second thing, the brush, it's a size 6 and it's definitely too big for such a small project, at least for her, and not, well, for the background it was fine, but not for her. I definitely had a little bit of trouble. And all in all, I think that the most important thing I've learned with watercolors is to wait for the layers to dry, because I've always been very impatient with my art. I really want to be done with it in a few seconds, and that's not possible. So with watercolors I've learned to, you know, leave it there and let it dry, at least for those minutes needed to, you know, not having the colors mix on the paper while they're still wet. Okay, and here's the final part, which is the lining. I love my black lines. Never used them before, but I fell in love with them, so I will not give them up anytime soon. Thank you for joining me, and I hope you like this Draw It Again challenge, and I prompt you to do it yourself. Until next time!